Hey, all praises to the Most High. King Milo. Check him out, this for my niggas struggling. It don't matter what you got. Man, I swear, it don't matter what you got. It don't matter if you're ballin' or not. If you serve the Most High, then my boy, you got a lot. Hey, it don't matter what you got. Man, I swear, it don't matter what you got. It don't matter if you're ballin' or not. If you serve the Most High, then my boy, you got a lot. Hold up, it don't matter what you got. Man, I swear, it don't matter what you got. It don't matter if you're ballin' or not. If you serve the Most High, then my boy, you got a lot.
Yo, what's going on, brothers? You are now tuned in all that rah-rah with your Hebrew brother Milo Judah. What it do, what it do. So, brothers, today's topic, in my opinion, is a very important topic, particularly amongst the so-called black man and his daughter. Now me, I will always approach the subject of the so-called black man and his children being an extremely important topic, but today I'm going to focus on the so-called black man and his daughter because this society puts an emphasis on women being liberal, right? I mean, men as well, but when women are liberal, they tend to tear the house down. And I mean men too. Liberal men act like liberal women though, so it goes hand in hand. They're a weak man. But as far as a man having a daughter and him allowing her to do anything she wants when she becomes a woman, that isn't going to be to her benefit. Him never correcting her, never chastising her, that's not going to be beneficial for her. But there is a line that we have to toe as men, right? Even with our sons, we have to toe a fine line between being harsh, being extremely strict, and allowing them to have a level of freedom, right? Because, I mean, just like you, when you were a child, you did want to have some fun. When you were a teenager, you did want to have some fun. Now, whether that fun was appropriate, that's a different conversation. But what I will say is, when we were kids and our parents told us no, and they didn't necessarily explain why, then naturally we would want to know what's on the other side of that no. Why did they tell us no? What's so bad about it? Right? And I mean, if you're curious enough, you're going to try it out. And one thing we should know is that when somebody really wants to do something, there's nothing you can do to stop them, whether you know about it or not. It's things that we've done as teenagers that our parents do not know about to this day. Right? Things that we are going to take to our grave. So, Milo, what you getting at? Well, this video in particular is going to be about a meme that I came across referencing Ecclesiasticus chapter 26 and verse 10. And that verse reads, "If thy daughter be shameless, keep her in straitly, lest she abuse herself through overmuch liberty." Right? And that is a great verse. But there's no context to it. And the thing about it, even the question asks, are parents giving daughters too much liberty? That verse says, lest she abuse herself through overmuch liberty. Right? Because you have to allow your child to have a sense of freedom. They can't feel like they are in prison, right? But as I stated, this verse, it has no context. We have to allow the author to finish his thought, right? So with that being said, we are going to read Ecclesiasticus chapter 26. We're going to start it from verse 1. So Ecclesiasticus chapter 26, we're going to start from verse 1 because the verse that this meme focused on was verse 10. But as I stated, we have to allow the author to complete his thought. Right, so verse 1 says, "Blessed is the man that hath a virtuous wife, for the number of his days shall be doubled." Right, so a good wife, a virtuous wife, will bring a man peace. Therefore, if he's living at peace, then he's going to live longer, because the opposite of peace is stress. And we know according to Sirach chapter 30 that, stress is not good for the heart and it brings forth death. So the opposite of death is life. Right? So verse 2, "A virtuous woman rejoiceth her husband, and he shall fulfill the years of his life in peace." Right? A virtuous woman is happy to have a husband, especially if he's a good man toward her and she's reciprocating that good energy toward him. Both of them are going to live their life in peace. She's going to be happy to be a virtuous woman toward him. Right, verse 3, "A good wife is a good portion, which shall be given the portion of them that fear the Lord." So, that's pretty much self-explanatory, but, brothers, we honestly have to do our best with living out these scriptures. Right? It's one thing to know the Bible very well. It's a whole other thing to be living this. And a lot of times, brothers can teach you scriptures, but when it's actually time to live it out and show it, brothers fall short. Right? So that kind of show that there isn't a real fear of the Most High, if you understand what I'm getting at. We have to really fear him. And I understand we are going to fall short. It happens. But a lot of brothers are arrogant when it comes to this. And then they wonder why they get women who are not good to them, women who are a thorn in their side. Brother, you got to look in the mirror first. Right, so verse 4, "Whether a man be rich or poor, if he have a good heart toward the Lord, he shall at all times rejoice with a cheerful countenance." Man, I got a song called "It Don't Matter." And it go, "It don't matter what you got. It don't matter if you're balling or not." Hold up, it go, "It don't matter what you got. Man, I swear it don't matter what you got. It don't matter if you're balling or not. If you serve the Most High, then my boy, you got a lot." Right? So, just being in tune with him, tapped in with him, it'll make a bad day great, brothers. Right? You will have a cheerful countenance. Your bank account could be in the red at a time. You'll still find a way to see the positive during the day. Right, so verse 5, it says, "There be three things that my heart feareth, and the fourth, I was so afraid, the slander of a city, the gathering together of an unruly multitude, of false accusation. All these are worse than death. But a grief of heart and sorrow is a woman that is jealous over another woman, and a scourge of the tongue which communicateth with all." Right, so verse 5 and verse 6, they go hand in hand. Right? The slander of a city, the gathering together of an unruly multitude, of false accusation, and a woman that is jealous over another woman. All of these can bring forth death. And it's worse than death because once somebody finds out these things, a false accusation, the gathering together of an unruly multitude, a city is about to be slandered or burnt down, or a woman is jealous over another woman, anything can happen. But we know with women, they're slick. Right? A woman would set you up with her mouth. A woman would tell a man one thing and tell another man a different thing. and have them at odds. Right? So that's why it jumps to verse 7. An evil wife is a yoke shaken to and from. He that hath hold of her is as though he held a scorpion. Right? Because brothers know that holding on to an evil wife, you're only hurting yourself. You're better off cutting her loose from your flesh. Right? That's why the book of Samuel tells us that rebellion is as the sin of witchcraft. Right? And we know we are supposed to kill a witch, especially in the ancient world. But, in today's world, if you have a witch attached to you, then the Mashiach, he even tell you, if your right hand offends you, you got to cut that thing off. Right? And we know that once we become one with the woman, then we are one flesh. But if our flesh is killing us, we have to cut it off. Period. All right, so verse 8, a drunken woman and a gatherer abroad cause of great anger, and she will not cover her own shame. Right, so as I was stating, the author was getting into a thought, and we have to allow the author to complete his thought, because initially he started with a good woman, and now he's juxtaposing the good woman with the evil woman. Right? But a woman who loves to go out, a woman who loves to have a drink, several drinks, she's going to piss you off. She's going to stress you out. She won't cover her own shame, meaning she's going to dress any kind of way. She's going to act any kind of way. Loud and unruly. Right? And as the verse stated before, he that hath hold of her is as though he held a scorpion. Verse 9, the whoredom of a woman may be known in her haughty looks and eyelids. So just basically what she's wearing. Right? And we see now that the so-called black woman has fell in love with the long eyelashes. Right? So it would behoove brothers to take heed of what they are getting into. Right? Verse 10, if thy daughter be shameless, keep her in straitly, lest she abuse herself through over much liberty. So that's the verse that is in that meme. If she's shameless, you have to keep her in straitly, or she's going to abuse herself. Honestly, brothers, this starts in their infancy, and while they're toddlers, we have to teach them right from wrong. Right? We have to explain to them why they shouldn't do something, why it isn't beneficial to them. Right? So before I continue, I'm going to jump to Deuteronomy chapter 6. And I'm going to jump to, I'm going to start at verse 17. It says, you shall diligently keep the commandments of the Lord your power, and his testimonies and his statutes, which he hath commanded you. And you shall do that which is right and good in the sight of the Lord, that it may be well with you, and that thou mayest go in and possess the good land which the Lord sware unto thy fathers, to cast out all your enemies from before you, as the Lord hath spoken. And this is the key verse that I wanted to get at. Right, verse 20, it says, and when thy son asketh thee in time to come, saying, what mean the testimonies and the statutes and the judgments which the Lord our power hath commanded you, then thou shalt say unto thy son, we were Pharaoh's bondmen in Egypt, and the Lord brought us out of Egypt with a mighty hand, and the Lord showed signs and wonders great and sore upon Egypt, upon Pharaoh, and upon all his household before our eyes. And he brought us out from thence, that he might bring us in to give us the land which he sware unto our fathers. And the Lord commanded us to do all these statutes, to fear the Lord our power, for our good always, that he might preserve us alive as it is at this day. And it shall be our righteousness, if we observe to do all these commandments before the Lord our power, as he hath commanded us. So, my Lord, what was the point of you jumping from Sirach chapter 26 back to Deuteronomy chapter 6? Well, it was pretty cut and clear that verse 20 said, "And when thy son asketh thee in time to come, saying, What mean the testimonies and the statutes and the judgments which the Lord our power have commanded you? Then thou shalt say unto thy son, We were Pharaoh's bondmen in Egypt, and the Lord brought us out of Egypt with a mighty hand." You have to explain to your son or your daughter why you are doing what you are doing. Brothers have to understand that with their wives as well. Right? Because a lot of times we want our wives to submit to what we want them to do. But brothers, you have to be honest with yourself and say it's hard to submit to something when you have no understanding of what's going on. Even the scriptures tell you what's going on. The scriptures tell you to explain to your children why you have them doing what you have them doing. Right? That's why the book of Proverbs tells us to train up a child from their youth. We have to start this stuff from when they're children. And when they have questions for us, we have to be able to answer them. Right? So back to Sirach chapter 26, verse 11. "Watch over with an impudent eye, and marvel not if she trespass against thee." Right? You have to watch your daughter. Right? You have to be very aware of what she has going on. And the thing is, as you were a child, you have to understand that she is a child. As you were a teenager, you have to understand that she is a teenager. You were feeling yourself at one point. They are going to feel themselves at one point. That's why it says, "Marvel not if she trespass against thee." Right? You can't be shocked. You can't act like you don't understand where this is coming from. Now, it's one thing to be disappointed. It's one thing to be upset. But to marvel at it, to be confused, to be befuddled, nonplussed, that makes no sense. Children are children. Teenagers are teenagers. Right? You have to do what you can do, which is explain to them right from wrong, why you told them no, why they can't go to this event. 1 + 1 is 2. If you do this, this is going to happen. Brothers, we have to be able to explain this to them. Right? So, verse 12, "She will open her mouth as a thirsty traveler when he hath found a fountain, and drink of every water near her. By every hedge will she sit down and open her quiver against every arrow." Right? So, again, this is talking about a daughter who is shameless. You have to keep her in straightly, lest she abuse herself through too much freedom. Right? And we know, according to this society, is teaching our daughters to be shameless. So therefore, we have to watch them. Explain to them why they can't go to this party, why they can't hang out with this boy at the age of 14, 15. Right? And another thing, we can't be scared to show them examples. Show them little Tatiana, who had a baby at 15, and how her life has progressed. Show her little Keyshawn, and, how he was into the thug life, and what happened to him. We can't shy away from this kind of shit, man. On the real. Right, but even this verse, verse 12 is explaining to us how a shameless daughter is going to abuse herself through overmuch liberty. She's going to basically test the waters. And, as men are, they're going to test the waters with her. Men going to hit that. Right? It says, open her quiver against every arrow. So we have to watch over our children, right? We have to teach them right from wrong. We have to explain to them right from wrong, why we are living the life that we are living according to the scriptures. And even, and you keep reading verse 13, the grace of a wife delighteth her husband, and her discretion will fatten his bones. Right? The grace of a wife, the discretion of a wife. If you have a good wife, a virtuous wife, she's going to be an example for your daughters, which goes back to around verse 1 and 2. Blessed is the man that have a virtuous wife, for the number of his days shall be doubled. A virtuous woman rejoiceth her husband, and he shall fulfill the years of his life in peace. You can go to Proverbs chapter 31, right? And read about a good woman and how a man, he won't have any word of spoil when it comes to her, and that comes to spoiling his children as well. A good wife goes a long way, brothers. Right? It says, a silent and loving woman is a gift of the Lord, and there is nothing so much worth as a mind well instructed. And, you know, a lot of times we tend to cater to our daughters because we understand that they are going to be the weaker vessel. But we have to teach them how to be wise in their youth, right? Because that's a gift from the Most High. She will be a gift to a man. And I know a lot of brothers, they hate the thought of their daughter getting with a man. But brothers, you have to understand, man, time is not going to stop. The more you go to sleep and wake up, the older your child is going to get. And one day you're going to wake up and she is going to be an adult. So you might as well start now instead of spoiling her when she's a child. Allowing your wife to spoil her when she's a child, because that's going to create a spoiled and entitled adult. And nobody likes spoiled and entitled adults, men or women. Verse 15, a shamefaced and faithful woman is a double grace, and her continent mind cannot be valued. You can't put value on a virtuous woman. That's why Proverbs 31 tells us that, you know, her value is worth more than rubies. Who can find a virtuous wife? They're extremely difficult to find, especially in this society, because this society is influencing the woman to compete with and go against the man. Right? Verse 16, as the sun when it arises in the high heaven, and we know how beautiful the sun is in the morning, so is the beauty of a good wife in the ordering of her house. Right, so brothers, all of this goes back to a woman in her childhood and how you explaining to her right from wrong, showing her examples within your marriage, within your relationship, how to be a good man to a woman, and a woman reciprocating that, how to be a good woman to a man. Right? That's how you avoid verse 10, 11, and 12. Right? But in the so-called black community, we tend to forget how important being empathetic is and being understanding. And that doesn't benefit anyone. Right? People are going to make mistakes. A lot of times, we have to understand that the woman in this society didn't have the example that the scriptures are telling us to put forth for our daughters. So we have to be very patient with them. But you also have to be a man and put your foot down when it's time to. Right? But the main thing that the so-called black man has to understand is that we set the example, especially in our homes. Right? So from our daughters' youth, we have to teach them right from wrong. And we have to explain to them why something is wrong. and why something is right. Because you were a child before, and you got curious before, and you did some shit out of curiosity, right? Whether you ended up suffering the consequence or not, you know that what you did was wrong. And even looking back at it, you would say, doing that as a child was stupid. When it comes to giving our child liberty, we just have to toe the line. We have to understand that kids are kids and they want to have fun. And it's not fair for us to take their childhood away from them. But at the same time, we have to be careful for them, right? But being too careful, you have to understand what that brings forth in adulthood, which is an adult who is going to try things, especially the moment they receive freedom. If you send your child off to college or something like that, and you've been very strict on her when she was a child, then you have to know she's going to do some freaky shit in college. Just out of curiosity, whether she likes it or not, it's going to happen. So that's pretty much it, brothers. You just have to always be circumspect, man. All right, always pay attention. Ask questions. Communicate with your daughter. Let her know it's okay to talk to you. Talk to her. Right? It's okay, brothers. But with that being said, man, yo.